What is up, guys? This is Ishwar Mohan, and this is the very first movie review video that I'm going to be doing. And I'd be trying to explain the movie named Tenet that just released recently. And trust me, I watched this movie in an IMAX screen, and by the time, I mean, the experience was amazing. Forget about, I don't even have to say anything about it. But by the time I was out of the theaters, out of the cinema hall, I was just seeing everything going backwards. And I'm not even kidding, this is not even an exaggeration. This is how good Christopher Nolan is as a filmmaker or as a director who can project his imagination and his thoughts into the screen in a way that no one else can fathom. Just no one else can fathom. Right? Now, a lot of people, when they watched the movie Tenet, they thought it just wasn't that enticing to them. They felt that it had a lot of concept, but not a lot of story building to it. But I beg to differ in this aspect. The reason being that Christopher Nolan tried to, culminate all of those aspects inside a time span of, under a time span of 2.5 hours to 3 hours, maybe lesser than that. I just don't remember. It's been a month since I watched the movie, but he tried to culminate all those aspects that a movie has in it and tried to bring out a result that was just out of the park, And I do understand the trepidations of watching a Christopher Nolan movie. The reason being that he's very complicated. It's a very complex story. It's not that easy to comprehend or understand, or you can't just walk out of the cinema hall and think that nothing has actually happened, right? Before I jump into the details of what this movie stood for and what was the storyline, and guys, just before I jump into all of those things, I just want to tell you that there's a huge spoiler alert that I want to give out right now. A huge disclaimer so that people do not get disappointed after watching this video, right? If you have watched the movie already, then feel free to go ahead and watch it, because this is going to be there throughout on YouTube. But if you still might want to watch the whole video and be happy to watch the movie after that, or if you really don't care about watching the movie, then this video is still for you, right? But yeah, before I jump into the details of what this movie stood for, I just want to talk about how this movie was shot. Now, the speciality of Christopher Nolan is that he hardly uses any VFX or any CGI or any green screen in his movies, which means that most of the work is done by the crew, by the actors, and by the camera, and by the cameraman, and I'm the DOP, the director of photography, or otherwise known as a cinematographer, the person who is basically the light man of the movie, the person who basically brings out everything and tries to put everything into life. He is the person. I love a cinematographical aspect of watching a movie. And I think the very first time, I'm sorry to divert from the topic, but I think the very first time that I watched a movie in that aspect or with that notion was Gravity. Because Gravity as a movie was rather an experience more than a movie. And I feel like, if not for all the perfections and all the impeccable features added by the cinematographer or the director of photography, the movie would have been an utter flop. It would have been really boring. It would have been really monotonous, considering the fact that it was a very slow moving movie. For example, if there was rhythm given to it, then I'd say it would have been a click after 3 seconds. It was so monotonous and so slow. But I feel like the very fact that they brought everything to life in the screen, just rejuvenated the whole audience, the whole theater right there. So that is something that I see also in a director like Christopher Nolan and the cinematographer that he uses and the crew that he uses. The reason being that all of it is done on camera and none of it is done afterward or in a post production unit, right? So the biggest speciality or the biggest or a peculiar or unique feature that Christopher Nolan has is that he uses an IMAX camera. An IMAX camera is a huge box basically. It's a huge ass box which is difficult to move. So basically it's not that mobile or portable. So the reason being that it is so heavy, it is a bit difficult to shoot the entire movie with an IMAX camera. But he has done that in movies such as Dunkirk and Tenet. And there was another movie named Avengers Infinity Wars and Avengers Endgame, which was not directed by Christopher Nolan but the Russo brothers. But I feel like that was way more easier to shoot. I mean, no offense to Avengers fans or Marvel fans. The reason being that it had a lot of CGI and green screen involved in it. But when it came to a movie like Tenet or Dunkirk, which had dogfight scenes with Luftwaffe and Royal Air Force just fighting and pitting against each other, those scenes being shot on an IMAX camera is very difficult, and God knows how he did that, right? And this is something that you can actually see in Christopher Nolan's earlier movies such as Dark Knight Rises, wherein the ratio of the picture is almost full, but then it reduces to almost 3:4 after a point. That is because he could not afford to shoot the rest of the movie with an IMAX camera because it's pretty expensive. But I feel like he has garnered that amount of name, respect and money and experience that he is capable of directing a whole movie on an IMAX camera, luckily for us. The sad part is that Tenet as a movie couldn't make a lot of money or fortune in the theaters. The reason being that it had to come out during the COVID pandemic scenario where we were quarantined and locked down in one place, and also we had a lot of restrictions in the theaters. But I think he took a very it was a quantum leap from a director's point of view. The reason being that if he would have released the movie on an OTT platform, I genuinely don't think we would have got the effect of watching a Christopher Nolan movie. And I'm pretty sure I'm guessing he's going to re-release this movie. So fingers crossed, guys. So once everything gets back to normal, and if you haven't watched the movie, trust me, this is something that you have to watch, right? Now let's jump into the details. Now, what does this movie stand for? Now, before I say anything about it, Tenet as a word is a palindrome, which means that if reversed, it would be read the same. We would read the same thing again, which would again mean Tenet. Now, Tenet, being a palindrome, says that the whole movie is about going backwards. Now, yes, when I say this, a lot of people would just trip out of their minds when they watch the movie or are way more fanatic about watching a Christopher Nolan movie. But apologies for that, guys. Sorry for using a layman language. I just want you guys to understand we do not really appreciate movies that much. Now, Tenet starts off with a scene in which the protagonist, the character's name, which is not a name in real, but then they just call him the protagonist, who is a CIA agent, tries to recover an object from an opera house in Ukraine. Now, we really don't understand why he's doing so, but in the process, he gets caught by the Ukrainian forces, and he sacrifices himself by biting on a cyanide tablet, which is not exactly a cyanide tablet, but ends up being a test for all the CIA agents just to show their loyalty. And because he passes this test, a higher official comes up to him and tells him that you are going to be a part of a new fraternity or a new organization named Tenet. And it stood like this, the symbol, right? And while he joined Tenet, he a lot of unrevealed secrets come to him. The very first one being that he goes to a lab at the very beginning, just after he's joined the organization, and he sees that there are certain objects which can act according to the reverse entropy, which would mean that if I drop this pen, it would as absurd as it sounds, it would just come back up. But for that, I need to behave as if I've already dropped it. And that was a bit of a mind fuck when I watched the movie, right? But it gets better as you move forward. Now, he's told to approach a woman named Kat, whose life is entirely hijacked by her husband named Sato, who was a Ukrainian weapons distributor, arms distributor, and he has a lot of power on his life, right? And the object that the protagonist wanted to retrieve was lost. The object that I told you about in the opera house in the very beginning, right? Now, while this is happening, he realizes that he needs a lot of help. So he comes down to Mumbai and he meets Robert Pattinson's character, and they team up right there. And they meet Dimple Kapadia's character named Priya, who also happens to be a huge business magnate who runs this weapon distribution system in India, right? And she is the one who tells the protagonist that there are around 9 algorithms or formulas which make up this whole concept of reversing the entropy of objects, and these were made by a scientist in the future who's equivalent to Oppenheimer of our generation, the Oppenheimer scientist who worked on the nuclear fission and basically helped in the creation of the Manhattan Project, which led to the nuclear bombing in Hiroshima and Nagasaki during the World War II. So this scientist who sets up these 9 algorithms, secludes and segregates them so that people are not able to find it, and people are not able to get a hand on this, have a hold on this deadly weapon. So she commits suicide in the future and segregates or secludes these 9 different algorithms. Now the whole story is based on this. Now, while this whole quest for those algorithms and the last object is going on, the whole story revolves around this, and revolves around this woman named Kat that I just told you about, and Sator, and how the protagonist saves her and the rest of the world. And the beautiful part about the movie is that Christopher Nolan did not shy away from using certain jargons, using certain words which would be difficult for us to understand. Now, I would not try and explain this whole movie to you, because it would be such a travesty if I do that, because I can see that I'm not doing justice to this movie already by giving this review, right? Because it's my very first review, and apologies guys if I have fumbled and not done a great job in doing so, but I'll definitely work on it. The point is, I just don't want to give a huge ass spoiler to you already, because it's definitely worthwhile your watch, worth your time, a couple of hours. Just go ahead and watch it, but just have an open mind while watching it, because a lot of terms such as temporal pincer movement or algorithm or stuff like that, entropy, which would try and bog your mind down. But then if you try and have an open mind and try to focus on the movie, I would say that it's an amazing movie for you to watch, and it's the perfect Christopher Nolan for anybody to witness. Sad part is we haven't really appreciated the movie yet, and that's pretty much it. Try and watch it on IMAX if it is near your theaters, because that is the way to go. Because if you do not watch the movie on IMAX, then I would say that you'll be missing out on a lot of aspects that the movie provides, or a lot of perspective that the movie provides while watching from a visual point of view, because it's a feast for the eyes for sure, being a Nolan movie. But it's definitely a movie to watch, and I would rate it around 4 out of 5. The reason being that the one point that I'm trying to negate or cut down is because I genuinely feel like Christopher Nolan could have worked his way through and made it a bit more enticing to other people who genuinely do not appreciate the movie as much as his fans in general do. But that's pretty much fine, because that's the way he goes about every single movie. A lot of people would disagree and give 3.5, but I would say I would stick to 4, or maybe even 4.5. And it's definitely, everyone should give it a shot as a movie. Thank you for watching the video, and thank you for bearing with me. Please hit the like button, share button. Please share this video as much as you can. Subscribe to our channel, and drop your comments and let me know what are the mistakes that I made. And I'm totally open for your butchering, because this is my very first video, and I'm open to all sorts of criticism, provided it's positive and constructive. And thank you. That's pretty much it. We'll meet in the next video, and please give us some suggestions for the videos to be made. Thank you.